Audible. Okay, okay, okay. I've clicked all the buttons. I've turned all the knobs. I've set sliders for content. And today, my dear friends, my wonderful viewers, we are having a call-in show. Get it off your chest with Wick TV and Sweet Stockings. What is a call-in show? What do you mean by that? Get it off your chest. Well, what we do, and we try to do this once every couple weeks or so, is we allow you, the audience, dear viewer, to call in to talk to us about pretty much whatever you want. If you've seen a political take I've made, a gaming take I've made, if you just want to know more about me or my guest of honor today, which will be introducing herself shortly, yeah, you could just call in and talk to us. I'll be providing the links in the chats. You click that link, you accept the rules, you jump backstage, we'll pull you in, and we'll have a nice discussion. But welcome to Roland Stott. Hello, Mr. Wise Guy. Hi, hi, hi. Rashad Crenshaw. Always nice to see you. I'm hoping you will all call in today. But let's talk a little bit about my guest, V. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, so
Dylan.
who are you? Why what's going on? Like tell us a little bit about who V is while I put these links in the chat. Sounds good?
Okay. That's such a broad question. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
My online presence, um, although it's very political, there's more to me than just that. Very sex positive. If you were to go on my Twitter page, I'm Polly. I'm 23. Yeah, I just had my birthday, 23.
Mm, happy birthday.
Had my birthday about like 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. All right, it was this month. um, and I'm a DGGer. I've met Destiny, IRL, and Melina when they were together, actually. um, I've gone to two of the political canvassing events.
Oh, were you at the
That
Ohio one?
the most recent one this year, right?
Yes.
I wasn't. Unfortunately, what had happened was so the morning of my flight, I was gonna go with my roommate. Um, and leading up to this, I had been having a couple of seizures every now and then. And the morning of, I actually had a seizure of my flight.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
well, so you went to the other two. How did you enjoy them? Did you like canvassing? Tell the audience a little bit about what people can expect at these events, right? So why did you decide to go canvassing?
Um, Pretty much for the like most basic reasons. Trying to change the political system for the better. Being very more involved in the atmosphere of politics, because I've always knew about like how shitty some things can be like handled in legislation. And when like Trump came into power and all that stuff, it was like the most you would ever like hear about Trump was like he was a TV personality. Um, yeah, like that was the first time I had ever heard of Trump in anything. Like I think the first time I ever like even really paid attention to him, like remembering Trump in anything, was he was in the movie Little Rascals, actually. So
Okay.
yeah, that's like all I heard about him. And the way that things went, it wasn't as complicated or fast paced as I thought it would have been.
The
There's like,
canvassing, you mean?
yeah, the canvassing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're literally just kind of going door to door, asking people, making sure like, hey, like the election's coming up, like make sure you vote, like who are you voting for? Um, and um, the first one I ever went to, I'm not a big traveler, so uh, the first one was in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm from Texas, and I had never seen snow, and I was very ill prepared, and there was a lot of like, no, the second one was Omaha. The first one was Georgia. So Georgia was fine. It was just cool. But Omaha, going to Omaha, it was cold, it was hard. You thought you were prepared mentally, you weren't. And like you think you have like the layers that you need, but you really don't. And I had never seen snow before, and I didn't even know how hard it would be. I wore like the boots that you wear whenever you're like working in like construction, like the
Steel-toed boots?
yeah, the steel toe boots.
Okay.
Little they weren't insulating enough. And when I got back to the hotel, it was like the hottest like level of the shower. It just like felt so good, even though like on a regular day it would have been scalding. Um, he fed us and he talked to us. I think the one in Georgia, I met a lot of like orbiters that Destiny had. And I actually have some pictures with them.
Oh, that's
Um,
really cool.
and
I'll
the
go
sorry,
on.
go ahead.
No,
The
it's
first
fine. Finish your thought.
sorry, the first time like, and that was like the first time I ever had met Destiny. Um, so it was just kind of like I got his like autograph, which is funny because like literally after that I like started crying because it, it was
Well,
such a big thing for me.
you know what? I'm glad that it fulfilled your dreams and your hopes and things like that. And gang, this is a call-in show. So we're going to talk and we're going to tell stories and we're going to kibitz until you get in here. Until you get in here, you jump backstage, you click the links that I gave you in chat, okay? You click that link, you accept the rules, you jump backstage, we'll pull you in and we'll talk to you about literally whatever you'd like. We're learning about Miss V's canvassing experience right now, which is interesting. It's always interesting to me to see how people engage with politics, engage with their communities, and engage with kind of the larger conversation around these things. So, you've been watching Destiny a while. What first got you into watching political streamers?
Um, I was in debate my senior year of high school, or junior year. Not that it matters. I was in debate, and I had never really been a vocal person to the point of like making sure I get my point across. Because I'm super duper emotional. And even now, like I don't necessarily like debate people face to face.
Sure.
So if you come at me, I'll cry. Um, it's like
It's a very effective
uh
debate tactic, just bawling,
yeah.
shedding tears immediately. It disarms your opponent, right? Really throws them off their game and makes sure that you, yes, you have the upper hand. I respect it. Go on, though, please.
um, and even now, like I I only know so much about what's like going on. So if somebody were to like come up to me right now and ask me like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" I'm gonna say I don't have a very like educated opinion. Like I told you, like I don't have a very educated opinion. So to form like to have like an actual conversation. But I got into Destiny because one of my friends in high school started watching him and just kind of seeing how he would like conversate with people and like his like debate tactics and his stances on issues. That's where it pretty much started was high school. Never in my life did I think I was gonna meet him.
It is interesting being able to kind of like make that leap of watching someone on a program, whether it be the television, YouTube, Twitch, what have you, and seeing someone who is getting thousands and thousands of viewers, right? Concurrent. And then actually meeting them in person. Thank you for the sub. Portland is burning. Really appreciate you. Portland Spring says, I support you. Well, I support you too. They're asking you in chat, and gang, you guys can call in, right? You don't have to ask in chat, but they're asking you, are you taller than Destiny?
No,
Fair
I'm
enough.
not. I'm not. I'm 5'4", five
Okay.
three. Yeah.
Well, we have a caller. Let me bring him in, and we will see what they have to say. Again, I want to reiterate, you don't have to ask us about what we're talking about. If you have a topic you'd like to bring up, by all means, we're here to discuss, okay? Let's bring him in. Hi, you're live.
Oh,
Oh, they do that on occasion. You're
I'm
live. Try
sorry.
again.
I pressed the wrong button. Hi, how's it going?
Hello, what you got for us
chilling.
today?
Good. I love the conversation about the canvassing experience. Obviously, huge fan of doing that. Got to meet Wick. That was a lot of fun. But Wick, since you said this is a anything goes kind of panel,
Anything
or
goes. Give it
or
to us.
call in, should I say? I would like advice. How could I become a better caller for Wick TV?
I
Well,
can't help in that.
at the end of the call, you could donate a lot of money, and at the beginning too,
I
and
knew that was
during the
going to be.
call.
I knew that was going to be the first
Okay,
one.
well, good.
Greedy.
I've trained you correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, what do you mean a better caller? I appreciate everyone who calls in, as long as you have an interesting, or even when you don't have an interesting thing, but like just giving up of your time to spend it talking with us, we value that. But yes, if you want to be better, bring interesting topics, and give me money, and that would be it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The main reason why asked this question is because last time I called in, it felt like a huge mess, because there were so many people, and I thought I had to like make room to talk. I talked with non-smoker Joe, Hutch, Josiah, that
Oh
panel.
yes, I remember. There
Yeah.
was a lot of people here. How did you think that went? Let's talk about that. Do you think how did you think that show went? Can you remind the
I
viewers what
yeah.
what we were talking about while I help someone get in the Discord?
Yeah, absolutely. So that whole panel, it was basically you had non-smoker, a communist tanky type that doesn't believe in voting. You had Hutch, liberal Twitch streamer, and Josiah, YouTuber, who also went to the canvassing event. Awesome dude. Also liberal, pro Biden. Then you had, I forget the other guy's name. I think he's also a socialist. I forget his name. Kind of had a soft voice to him. And you had,
Sour lemon?
yeah, yeah. Then you had the guy. I didn't get to talk to him at all. He's the guy that was the Adam and Stitch fan, or should I say he represented the right or centrist position in voting?
J-Mac?
Yeah, GMAC. And then you had Joe Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
who I had the biggest umbrage with, really,
What
because
was your umbrage with Joe Lewis? Go ahead.
he took over the conversation completely. He took over your moderating role. He was asking all the questions, and yeah, you don't have to be the moderator. It's just really interesting that Joe Lewis is able to not. He has no spine. He has no real position other than I hate Democrats, because something about black people, and that's the only thing I've heard from him. And this is not coming from a person that I don't have like no experience with him. I've seen his content, and I've talked to him before. He's not a good person when it comes to having real engaging conversations. Is he an interesting person? Absolutely. He asks good questions, and he's on the other side of, to create content, I guess, in a way, to have an opposing voice, really. But when it comes to any sort of substance, it's not there. You ask him direct questions, he's throwing ad homs, and I feel like I do that myself. Obviously, I do that because I believe in a tit for tat kind of system, where If someone
Well,
does something
yeah,
to
no, I
you,
get what you
you do
did.
it
An
back to
eye for
them.
an eye,
Yeah,
an eye for an eye. Let me
right.
try to get V in on this conversation. V, what do you
Yeah.
think about that? Right? Um, Destiny has been accused of this as well, so we can tie it to someone you know. This whole tit for tat, this spite-driven politics, spite-driven positions.
Is it spite?
Tit for tat can be, especially if
It's.
someone is
I
spiteful
don't see it
towards
that way,
you.
but yeah,
If
sure.
someone is spiteful towards you, you feel the need to be spiteful towards them. That's what tit for tat means. Is it not?
I mean, I do agree, but I reject the idea it's spite driven
Okay.
because if someone is going to set the battleground of the conversation, I will fight on your battleground. If
I can
someone
get
comes
that.
in, you know what I'm saying? Like I I understand the ideas of turning the other cheek and the golden rule. Absolutely live by those principles every day. Um, but
Except for
it's
when
some
they really piss you off, right?
What no, when it comes to debating and arguments, absolutely, because we're now testing the moral character, not actions of people. We're talking. We're figuring out. We're on the battleground of ideas, literally trying to figure out, what do you believe in? We're not talking about actions. That's a very different world. If Joe Lewis comes up to me and says, "Shut up, cracker," and just hits me across the mouth,
Mm.
I'm not gonna start fighting him. You know what I mean? I'm gonna look at him like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" It's a very different world. But if he calls me, if he calls certain people certain words, then we can start talking on those terms. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I making
I'm
sense?
I'm not sure. V, what are your thoughts here?
I think I understand what you're trying to say. Um, like with the whole like setting like the battleground, like if you're gonna act this way, then like I'm all for like doing throwing that right back in your face, and you can't like necessarily like, bitch about it because you started this. Um, I would see that as like coming from me being like super duper petty because there's always like different ways of just being better and not stooping to that level. As far as like Destiny being involved in that kind of like situation, um do I agree with it? I just think Destiny gets shown a lot of, I don't want to say shade. It's more of just like he's like there are a lot of people who have like issues and personal issues with him and are like making judgment just based off his what am I trying to say?
Like
His
his
presence.
demeanor.
Yeah, his presence and demeanor like online. Um I think people like think it's okay to just use that and like just to like shit all over him. And that's why he like retorts back the way that he does. Like he doesn't like take shit from anybody, especially if that person sets the standard for him. It's just so like,
Sure.
yeah, I wouldn't take
So,
shit from anybody either.
well, here's the thing, and then this is to both of you, right? Mostly to In Search of Truth there. Um, when we talk about persuasion, and this is what we had the debate with Destiny on Thursday, right? It was on debate, but below the level, the foundational question was, how do we persuade people, and do debates do that? I think they do. But when we talk about persuasion, one of the reasons why I think it's a mistake in many cases, not all, but most cases, to do this kind of tit for tat style of discourse is that it blurs the lines to anyone watching on who has the moral ground to stand on. So, especially when people are coming into a situation, they didn't see how it began, and they probably aren't going to see how it ended. All they see is in the moment, and they see both sides just flinging shit at each other, right? Talking all sorts, being as nasty as possible, not engaging with the main topic, not engaging with the points, but just going in, right? It really makes it hard for you to say, I am correct in this instance and I am behaving correctly. And people are convinced by how you behave in a lot of cases. Not so much what you're saying, it's how you say it. It's not so much what you do, it's how you do it. That's what persuades, that's what convinces a lot of people. Not everyone, obviously. I'm talking in generalities here. And so I think that it's a mistake when you come in hot just because your opponent was hot. Now, that said, there are times when it makes perfect sense and it's probably the right move. But I think that in general, I don't talk shit about people even though they talk shit about me. And when I do, it's often a mistake and something I shouldn't do. It's a human thing, but it's something that I would be better served if I did not do. Does that make sense? Go ahead.
Makes sense. Seeing the optics of things. I definitely get the idea what you're saying, where it's not about what you say to a person, it's how you make them feel. Definitely have run that into my life. I mean, like the Canvas event, we're walking up to strangers' doors. I'm not
Yeah.
going to sit there and debate somebody, unless they're open to it, right? Um, that's, becomes a very different thing. But then you can have really productive ones where talk to your Uber driver for 2 hours about voting.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, that was, still need to talk to Socrates about that, and get you to, yeah. But anyway, yeah, okay. I'll try not to be as hot, but man, it's so hard to do that sometimes, Wick. Okay.
And so look, I like it when you get hot because it's good content, right?
True.
But
True.
and
It gets
again,
people awake, that's for sure.
content's different than persuasion, right? Like when we do for
Yeah.
content, we're putting on a show, but that's different than persuasion. There's some differences there. $5 from Beer Water to say, Wick, you're a Giga Chad, and I'm so glad to hear that you'll be voting for Trump 2024. Love you. If you heard that, I don't know who lied to you, but they did lie to you. I am not voting for Trump in 2024.
Would
Are
you
you
vote for
voting at
Trump?
all?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
voting
yeah.
for Biden.
Why?
Why am I voting for Biden? Because I think that of the choices that we have available, he's the best candidate. I think he
Mm.
has done well overall. A couple missteps in the beginning, right?
Right.
But well overall in foreign policy. I think his domestic policies are great. We just heard the news. I don't know if you all have heard the news, but Walmart, Target, McDonald's, there's a lot of companies that are going to be slashing their prices, and they've already begun to slash their prices. The economy is
Oh.
actually doing well and we're actually getting out of this inflation mess that we got in because of COVID. Like I said, he's not perfect on it. And it definitely isn't a perfect presidency. But of the two choices that we have, I would much rather Biden is in charge than in Trump. I remember 2016 to 2020. It wasn't the best years, right? We had some issues, but you know what?
Yeah.
It is what it is. Um,
Th-
anything else before we let you go,
No, no,
buddy?
no. I just wanted to check in.
Okay. I'll see
All
you
right.
later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. What a good caller. What a nice guy. We got some other callers. So if you, my dear viewers, want to get in on this, now's the time. You got to get in line. I'm going to try to go in the order that you appeared. It's not going to be perfect. Forgive me if I mess up the order, but we'll start pulling people in and see what they got to say. Let's get this gentleman or lady. I'm not actually sure. Hi. Welcome. You're live.
Thanks. Where their mics are always outside.
All right, hello.
Hi. Can you hear us?
Hey.
Yes. Wait. So what just happened? Because
You're
I
live.
was
You
trying
got
to.
pulled in. We're doing a call-in show, so you were live on the air.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to be on the call-in show, you probably shouldn't have been backstage. But
Oh no, I'm here. I'm here.
okay, what you got for us?
So you were talking about I don't really have much of a question, but you said something, but then you got cut off because I was trying to like change the I was moving from Twitch to YouTube because Twitch played an ad and then I couldn't hear anything, and then now I'm discombobulated. But you said something about the 2016 the Trump years between 2016 and 2020, and you said that be you would rather Biden over Trump.
Yes.
Is that why?
Well, I think that
Based on
Biden
the
has
20.
been better for foreign policy. I think that the do nothing nature of Trump's presidency from 2016 to 2020, he didn't really get much done, it
You see that
led
as a
to,
negative?
yes, especially when there were issues that needed resolve. Obama is guilty of this too when it comes to Syria, for example, and when it comes to Ukraine. There are things and actions he should have and could have taken that would have made things much better than they are in that situation, but he didn't. And Trump carried that legacy forward. I think that Trump also failed to address rising racial tensions in this country. And again, like, he's not the only person to blame for this, but it was during his tenure that these things got worse and worse and worse. Now, again, Biden isn't perfect by any means. He's made some missteps. But for example, his foreign policy, he's been pretty pitch perfect when it comes to Israel Palestine. And I think it's not perfect, but he's doing the best he can with Ukraine. The best. I don't think there's a better policy that you can have towards Ukraine than Biden has had. That's my opinion.
Okay. So, I mean, honestly, I guess I can't really like dispute that to be honest.
Okay.
But
I mean, is that what you wanted to call in about?
yeah, that was
Okay,
the last thing that I heard you guys talk about, and I kind of wanted to know
sure.
more specifically on that.
You could actually
But
talk to us about anything you'd like, right? It doesn't have to be anything we were talking about. If you have something else you'd like to bring up, you're more than welcome to. Go ahead.
um, all right, I'll come back later. All right,
Oh, okay.
because I don't really
I'll
have anything
talk
right
to you
now.
later then, buddy.
All right.
Okay. What a what a great caller. No, thanks for
Yeah.
calling in for real. But yeah, like, you guys here. It's easy. If you can't think of anything to say, but you still want to talk to us, just ask Via questions. She's our guest. Let's see what you can quiz her, okay? And we can grade her on how many
Don't
answers
quiz
she
me.
gets right or wrong. It'll be a fun
I'm
game.
gonna fail.
It'll be a fun game.
I'm
Everybody
gonna
wins in
fail.
this game. Okay, let's bring in the next guest. Hi, you're live.
Hey, Wick, and hey, is it Via? Via?
B. Like the letter.
Oh, I apologize. I'm
Yeah,
like
okay.
old. I'm hard of hearing. So, Wick, we started working on the first Slongy and Stew book, and I want to tell you what about the premises. See, like the left versus right, or like woke versus anti-woke, all that stuff. I'm thinking there's this thing: simple people versus complex people, and that's not intelligent versus unintelligent. We only started on it this morning, so I don't have like 15 chapters made. But what we were thinking is simple people, like like that Pearl girl that's all over the internet all the time. Pearl Davis,
Oh,
I think.
Pearl. See, your
Yeah.
accent makes it hard. A peril girl? Like, which girl is in peril?
So she's
No, but I
quite
know who
prone.
I knew who Pearly Things is. Yes, go
So
ahead.
when she started out, she'd quite often quote Jordan Peterson's univariate analysis thing. So just one thing it causes the other thing, or is correlated with their thing, not causes the other thing. And then she uses univariate analysis all the time to defend her positions. It makes me chuckle. And this is an example of a simple person. I don't know how intelligent she is or not. I often refer to as a bag of rocks, but I think it's simple versus complex. So a complex person versus simple. Simple person says, when we eat ice cream, we don't get flu, but really it's summertime, right? And the complex person looks at secondary and tertiary outcomes as well to build their opinions on things. And I was curious, what do you think of this theory? V in particular, what do you think of this theory?
I'm gonna be like 100% honest. Your accent is making it a little bit difficult.
That's
So
quite okay.
you said that when somebody eats ice cream, like this is a simple person, right?
I mean, I'm not a simple person, but I do.
No. This like the way you're like describing this.
Yes. The person eats ice cream, they don't get flu. Ice cream cures flu. But
Okay.
really, is the flu happens in the winter, and ice cream is eaten in the summer. So the things, even though there's correlation there, the causation is missed. So when I'm teaching young
Okay.
engineers, I always use this analogy because everyone's heard it, or not everyone, but lots of people have heard it. So they go, "Oh, that's ridiculous. Of course, that makes sense." But the person who doesn't have the flu is enjoying their ice cream.
Yeah. And so you're saying like that's the way a simple person would see it because of the correlation, but like you said like a complex person would see like that's obviously like not true in the sense of like the flu being in winter and eating
Yeah,
ice cream in summer
yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah,
mature.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this adds to like when we're discussing politics. I heard you guys talking about Joe Biden's economy is doing well, right? And when we have talking points,
It's doing
it's good to
better.
sorry,
It's
better.
doing better. Yes.
I'm very precise in my language, Wick, so I was hoping to lure you in. um, the influence the president directly has on the economy is somewhat limited, right? Would you agree with that? But
Certainly,
we
but it's not
oh, sorry, go.
zero, if I may. It's not zero, and a lot of the cabinet positions, legislative positions, and other things do have an influence and an impact. Fiscal policy dictated by, I'm blanking on the name of the organization, the Fed.
Yep.
Um, uh, it absolutely can drive, for better or worse, how the economy does. And then there's, again, a lot of uh, off offshoots, the microeconomics that just is very hard to account for, very hard to kind of delineate where these effects coming from. Like, why are McDonald's prices rising? Why are the gas prices rising? It's very hard to point to any one single cause. I mean, we can guess and we can make some correlations, but there's a lot of reasons, and it's really hard to nail down. But when it comes to, and the reason I say that Biden's economics policies have largely been a success is because we are seeing a reduction in inflation, an increase in wages. Again, it's not perfect, but again, this report coming out of Walmart, Target, McDonald's, several other major chains beginning to cut their prices and engage in this kind of price war is indicative that we are improving from what we were. And as long as the trend line is going in the direction we need, I'm good with it. Okay. But that's
So
me.
is this like the reduction in inflation, sort of like the other government spending type math, where they say, "Oh, we cut spending, but they just cut the increase, so the prices aren't going back below 2023 numbers,
So
are they?"
when I don't know if they're going like how far these cuts are going to go, right?
Hmm.
When we talk about like Walmart, Target, etc., that's up to them, and we'll see how it comes out, right? Like
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah,
what
absolutely.
what the final numbers look like, but we know what's happening. So that's all I can say is that it's better than them raising prices. It's better than them staying the same. And again, we can't compare Biden to the almighty, right? Like a perfect president. We got to compare him to the alternative, which is Trump, and ask ourselves, based on the information we have about Trump, his policy decisions that he has made in the past, what he advocates for, who is on his team, will that be better or worse than what Biden is doing and has done? And that's a choice that you, dear viewer, can make for yourself. But for me, I'm voting Biden, but that's me.
So I do have to get off for a meeting real quick. I know you've got people waiting. Slongy, my son, is eligible to be president in 2044. So we've got, like 18 years or so to prepare him for the position. And, as a non-American, non-born American, his first act is going to make it so that foreigners can become president. We're going to call it the
Yeah.
Akuma Stu Act.
Okay.
So then I can replace my son. Now, can we rely on your vote?
Uh, I'm not going to promise you, but tell you what, you keep showing up, you keep watching the show, and it's not a no. I'll have to see his policy positions. Okay.
I'll take it. Thank you, guys, and
Okay.
nice to meet you, V.
See you later.
Bye.
Cool. No, thanks for calling in. I really appreciate the talk. But yeah, 2044, let's see if I'm alive in 2044, okay? A lot can happen between now and then. Maybe one of my haters will find out where I live, and that'll be it,
Real.
right?
Real.
You never know. But, yeah, look, I'm having trouble deciding what I'm going to do next week, let alone in 2044. But yeah, let's see who is next on our little house of horrors here. Well, well, well. Speak of the devil, Artemis Fowl. How you doing, buddy?
Well, hello there.
Hi. How's life? How's it going on your side of the world?
Good. I'm about to. Well, I'm packing tonight for my trip tomorrow, so I'll be
Okay.
out to the Middle East for a month. But I thought I should stop by while I had the time. I heard you were talking about how great things are going.
Better, not great.
And
It's not
I don't
perfect.
know.
Better.
It's one of those descriptor words where the implication is that it's a positive thing that's going on, not a negative thing that's going on. So,
Well, do you think it's a negative thing that's going on with Biden's economy right now?
I don't know. Have you heard about Red Lobster?
Yeah, they went out of business.
No, they're filing for bankruptcy.
Oh, I thought they went out of business.
What about
I'll have to
Marie
look into it.
What about Marie Callender's?
I don't. I haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah, okay. Pizza Hut.
Nope.
These are all. The reason I'm bringing these up is because these are all places that are scheduled to close almost all of their stores across the country.
Sure. I
Yep.
mean, like, but that happens even in the best economies. We can point to chains, corporations, and businesses that fail. Most businesses fail.
Mhm. Yes, but most established corporations that have been around for decades and have multiple chains across the country don't normally just fail all at once, right? We don't usually get indicators like this where large swaths of the food industry are collapsing because the food is too expensive to buy, right? That's an indicator that a certain sector of the economy is going away because that sector is no longer profitable.
Well, not
If it was
necessarily, right?
well,
Like, there are plenty of reasons we could see why you might have a few businesses, a few chains, a few long-established chains even in the same sector go away, while the sector in and of itself is doing just fine, right? Now, this happens all the time. Again, like, so I don't know the specifics of each event, to be clear with you. Like, I don't know why each of them are failing. I haven't looked into the numbers. I haven't looked into their books. But, right, like, just noting that they're failing isn't enough for me to say anything, really.
So the joke, and not so much of a joke for Red Lobster, is that they're all you can eat shrimp thing. They would have entire families go in, and like 2 people would buy the all you can eat shrimp and then share them with the rest of the family. It's kind of a joke, kind of not, because it showed up in their documents for the court filings. So I'm trying to figure out still whether or not that's actually true, or if somebody's just fucking with me, because I've yet to see anything stating otherwise that that's not the case of why they're going out of business.
Sure, I don't think Biden's policies or Trump's policies, for that matter, would have stopped
the Red Lobster
that,
matter,
right?
Yeah, I mean, but here's the big thing, right? When you say that McDonald's is lowering it, or has made a commitment to lower, I don't know which one of those. No. So it's made a commitment to slash prices, or is slashing
there
prices?
There are reports here. I got the article up. Let me see.
I'd like
what
to see
say
the
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a price war taking hold with discounts on everyday tool and retail. These price cards marked the first big price war since inflation started taking hold. Higher income shoppers looking to save money have helped Walmart maintain strong sales in recent quarters. But earlier this month, the nation's largest retailer expanded its price rollbacks. Temporary discounts can last a few months to nearly 7,000 grocery items, a 45% increase. I'm looking for the McDonald's section. It's a long article.
You don't have to go further than that.
Yeah.
It says temporary rollbacks for the next few months.
That's well.
What does that say to you?
That says that they're looking to compete with prices because they realize that if they cut their prices, people will buy more of their product. I think that's basics. But the fact that they're doing this, in quote unquote this terrible inflation that we have, shows that they can still make a profit. They feel, at least, right? They are guessing. They are prognosticating a little bit that they feel that they can slash prices and still be okay and still make
So
profits.
do you know? Okay, so do you know about? I'll ask V this too.
Sure, ask
Mhm.
Feed.
Yeah, V, have you ever heard of shrinkflation?
No.
So shrinkflation is when a store or grocer doesn't want to increase prices because they don't think the customer will pay the new prices. So what they'll do is instead they'll shrink the package or the amount allotted in the amount of stuff you buy.
Yeah,
So for
you'll
example,
the chips, you'll get less chips.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
get
for like a $5 bag of chips, where once you could buy it for an entire family or whatever, now it only covers 75% of the amount of the family that it used to for the same $5.
Okay.
Yep. So there's actually a great Twitter account that goes to Costco, Sam's, and all these other nice large warehouse style places where you buy stuff. And it has been documenting since 2021 until now. And what they've done is every year they've documented the price changes, the size of the groceries and stuff like that. And then they've just been monitoring it just for the heck of it because they like to look at these things. It's kind of weird. But what it's shown is that prices have not only doubled since 2021, but the packaging on all of the stuff that they're selling has actually gotten smaller as well. So this is a useful thing to look at when you're trying to figure out whether or not the consumer price index is actually accurate or not. When you go through the grocery store and you're trying to buy eggs, and the eggs has doubled in price over the 2 years, stuff like that. And when we're talking about temporary setting back or rolling back prices, well, that can be done because they've already cranked the prices up double it was in 2021, and they've also shrank the amount of product you get when you purchase that amount. So I can understand why they do it, but it's not a sign that things are getting better. It's a sign that things might be stabilizing.
Well, who
Like
you gonna believe? Okay, right? The
my
fact
eyes.
that the prices, we're just doing shrinkflation now, right? Oh, this isn't really cutting back. You're not really saving money. Or are you gonna believe your lying eyes that show the prices decreasing?
Well, I mean, the
The
when you
lying eyes, yeah.
when you say lying eyes, right? When you're holding up a bag of
I'm being
yeah,
facetious, right?
yeah,
I'm using a Rob Noor quote and I'm turning it on its head.
yeah, yeah. The lying eyes thing is probably about the biggest thing because when Biden came in, it's like when I came into office, inflation was at 9% or 9.2%, and I brought it down, and it's like, well, no, not really. When he came into office, inflation was at 1.2% because we were coming off the back of a low demand economy from COVID. And then it shot up to 9% over the course of 2 years and then slowly started coming back down. But he seems to forget about that part. Nobody likes to correct him. Right?
I don't have the inflation numbers right, so
Yeah,
I can't say either way whether you're right or
yeah,
wrong. I don't
Yeah.
have the exact numbers.
the big thing is that the nobody believes what anybody is coming out in the news that the economy is getting better or inflation's getting better or anybody has anything to celebrate about because they don't. They don't see it in their kitchen. They
Well,
don't see it in their
no,
pocketbook.
I disagree with this
Okay.
because we can see that spending amongst all
Yep.
sectors is up amongst consumers.
Correct.
They're buying more, they're
I
going out
gotcha.
more, they're doing
Mhm.
more, right? Like
Yep.
they're spending more money and they're
Mhm.
consuming more goods by a not just a dollar amount, but they're
Yep.
buying more, right?
Gotcha.
And so the reason why, and you're correct, that there's a lot of
Mhm.
people who think the economy's not doing well, right?
Yep.
Who don't like the economy, don't like where it's going. But I
Mhm.
disagree with your reasons why. I think one of the
Okay.
major factors, not the only factor, but one of the major factors is it's become whether the economy is doing good or poorly depends on whether you're a Democrat or a Republican.
So I
And if
got
you're a
100%.
Democrat, the economy is
uh-huh.
great. And if you're a
I
Republican, the economy sucks and it's never been better, right? And this will switch on a dime. If Trump gets elected, the next day you will be like, Trump saves the economy. The economy is great. And then Democrats will switch on ahead too and say, look at the economy and how terrible it is. Thank you, Trump, right? Like It's a politics thing. It's not a reality thing.
So before we move on from that weird statement of, I could flip that on its head and say, well, yeah, of course the Democrats are fine with this. The Democratic Party represents the wealthy and the people who've been to college, while the Republican Party represents the people who didn't go to college and work menial jobs that make around $30,000 to $50,000 a year household income. I could say that, or I could bring up the fact that yes, spending is up. You're correct. And credit card debt per family household has reached the highest it's ever been, ever, and it's not even close. And so when you're talking about the economy being where, oh yeah, that's indicative of success by the amount they're spending, well, no, they're supplementing that spending by racking up massive quantities of credit card debt, which is creating a credit bubble, which is kind of how we saw the roaring 20s before the fucking crash. So I don't know why we're using spending figures as a means. That's like using these stock market numbers
Well, I
to
don't know why
indicate how
we're
healthy
using
the
the
economy.
20s as a comparison. If I recall
1920s?
correctly,
It's because
the
it's the
20s was when
2020s.
credit was initially
Yeah.
got a mainstream hold on things. So
Mhm.
yes, when it initially happened, it caused a great huge bubble. But I think we
Yep.
have a lot of different institutions in place now, protections in place now, and just a different view on credit than we did in the 20s. I don't.
Oh,
I know why you're comparing it to the 20s, right? Because
yeah.
it makes comparisons. It recalls in the listener what happened right after the 20s.
Yeah, we do know that from the 20s that if you don't pay back your credit card debt and you have no means to which to do so because, nobody has a job, somebody has to take up that bill. And if credit card holders, whoever has bought that debt, I don't know, from like your 401k or people buy, what was it, the subprime mortgage?
Subprime mortgage loans from Fannie
Yeah.
Mac and Freddie.
So when you
What was the
don't
other
pay
one?
back
I forget.
those, when you don't pay back those things, the economy takes a fucking hit. And
No,
when you have
absolutely.
and when the massive amount of the American population has around $8,000 credit card debt per household, somebody at some point is going to have to come collect that debt. That debt is going to mature.
I want to look at those numbers, and because you say average, and I'm curious.
Yeah, that's what I'm
where
reading. The average American household owes now around $8,000 in credit card debt.
I'm curious where those numbers are pooling, because if you have millionaires and
Federal
billionaires
Reserve
taking out
Bank.
billions of dollars in debt, like Elon Musk is like
Mhm.
leveraging his shit, that's going to bring the average way up. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just haven't seen the numbers, and I need to look at them. But I want to just a public service announcement for my audience, right? Because I'm a poor guy, okay? I'm upfront. I don't have a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money. But one of the reasons that I'm able to function and to do what I need to do and get by and still have a little fun money is because I've avoided debt throughout my life like a fucking plague. Debt is a cancer. Debt will bind you and enslave you in a way that you don't want. I don't put my cars on credits. I don't put my I bought my house outright. I saved up enough money. I don't go into debt if I could possibly help it. And I advise you, dear viewer, that you should do the same. Don't go into debt. It is a bad thing. And thank you for the $40, Artemis Fowl.
What? Why? Why not go into debt? If you take out a massive amount of student loans for a degree that's not going to get you anything, you're going to get bailed out. You're going to get bailed out by the government when they need votes. Or, on the offhand, they might go to a world war.
Why would I ever trust the government to do anything?
Because
right or left,
the government's currently desperate. So they're going to keep doing this whole student loan bailout, even though it hasn't resulted in any positive indications of voting from anybody.
Yeah, I don't rely on the federal government or even my local governments for anything if I can help it. And that's just me, though. I mean, I would love the government to do more for the people, but I don't ever bet on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll wrap it up so that way
please wrap it up. Yeah, give us what you got.
So, chat, as you've heard today about the argument of being persuasive and how we need to be persuasive during debates. And we've just had an experience of something
Did you
that
like that
may.
Thursday panel, by the way? I'm sorry.
I saw a little bit of it. Like I said, I've been missing so much because World War
Finish,
III is
yeah.
coming
Sorry,
up, and I gotta.
I distracted
Yeah,
you. My bad.
yeah. But Chad, the issue Biden has currently going on is that his entire campaign is unpersuasive. And no matter how persuasive you want to be or how much you want to be able to champion Biden, nobody's buying it. And nobody has decided to figure out why nobody's buying it. They've only said, well, they just don't know. We just got to tell them more. Trump's evil. He's going to destroy the democracy. Or, hey, the economy's actually good. You just don't understand. You're too dumb. Let me tell you. So
look, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you that the polls not very positive for Biden. They're not.
Yeah, when are we gonna settle on the fact that the polls are probably accurate?
Because
No,
I don't think they
it's-
are, because we can see these elections that happen, right, when people are actually casting their vote, and it's not
Yeah?
just a poll.
Are we talking
Biden
about the
massively
primaries?
outperforms every single time. And the Democratic vote, more Democratic candidate massively outperforms the polls in most occasions. We could see
I
this
think
with the what was a recent election? It was the Applebrook, or I forget her name. But polling had the Republican ahead, or the more centrist guy ahead. But then when it came time to actually vote, she blew him out of the water. Applebrook. What the fuck is that person's name? I have it up. Hold on. I had it somewhere. I'll find it. I'll find it for you guys.
Yeah.
But it was an election recently. Anyway, carry on, and then we do got a cycle.
Yeah.
So.
But but the issue is, Chad, is that if the Democrats were actually honest with themselves, they would have gotten rid of Joe Biden from the running this time around and picked somebody that could actually probably win. And he's actually the one person that could get Donald Trump reelected. Or Robert De Niro, if he stands outside, Trump's fucking trial and makes himself look like an idiot. Either one, those two are like one of the best people for doing that. But that's it from me.
Artemis, thank you for calling in, and I hope you stay safe on your trip. Okay, man.
I probably not. That's why I get paid a lot.
Okay. Well, don't die. You're not allowed. I forbid you. Bye bye.
Hooray.
Artemis Fowl, a friend of the show, right? Someone I like to spar with. I enjoy it. But let's bring on the next guest, and whatever this is. Hi, you're live. What you got?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have time to go over how based Sargon Rakan's tactical inward was, why we should be calling homophobes the F-bomb in all of their replies whenever they say some dumb shit.
Wait, hold on, rewind. What are we doing?
We don't have time for that?
I don't. I'm gonna have to go back to work in about 10 minutes, so I just wanted to say how Artemis Fowl was wrong about everything that he just said. Pizza Hut is closing locations because they're garbage. They've been garbage for years, and they're never going to be not garbage. That's why they're closing, and Domino's almost doubled their stock price this year. Domino's can do 2 pizzas, $6.99 each. They can do carry out 3 toppings, $7.99. Pizza Hut couldn't get their shit together, couldn't get delivery times under an hour and a half. Skill issue, all right? Total nonsense to say, oh, look, some companies are shit, so the economy's bad. All right? Then there's inflation. I mean, I'm gonna throw some inflation statistics out here. All right, so groceries. 2020, it went up 3.9%. 2021, 6.3. 2022, 10.4. That's pretty bad. Where is it now? Well, 2023 was 2.7. 2024 was 2.2, and some categories there's actual deflation. Inflation's going great. It's doing what we want. Now, compare that to wages. Well, in that first bad year of inflation, we had double-digit wage growth on average. We beat inflation. 2022, well, that was bad. We had like 7% growth, 10% inflation on groceries. So, on the whole, bad luck. America, not a great year. Not a great year. COVID sucks. But you know what? Inflation's back down now. Where is wage growth at? It's still between 4 and 8% every month compared to the previous 12 months, compared to the last time it was that month. It's on average, people are doing better. It's not gaslighting, it's just true.
Are you just curious because some accusations have been thrown out? Do you work for Domino's? Are you
No,
paid by the big D, Domino's? Are
no.
you
It's
a
funny though. I
shill
did
for
used to work for Pizza Hut, so
Domino's?
I know exactly how bad Pizza Hut is. They're terrible garbage. Corporate tried to get some quality control, and everyone just kind of lied and tricked the computers and pretended that everything wasn't bad. So it is what it is.
Okay.
I just posted a link showing the wage growth. If you compare it to the link I had for food inflation,
Hmm.
you'll see what I was talking about with wages being better than groceries. People are not starving. There are probably some groups in the middle whose wages did not go up, while low income people, their wages shot up while they were on top of that getting better entitlements from the government, such as the child tax credit. That's why we have people getting more stuff. Now, the dummies that are ballooning their credit card debt, even though we have higher interest, well, that's a skill issue. Stop buying more stuff than you did the year before, and you're going to stop having huge credit card debt. You can just buy less shit. There are some people who are truly in a terrible spot. I feel bad for them. We should do more to help them out. But if you're in the middle class and you have revolving credit card debt, you're just a fucking dummy. And I have no sympathy for you. Get good. Learn to budget. You don't even have to go out for deliveries. Sign up for walmart.com.
I
Get a
disavow.
delivery
I
once a week.
disavow. But go on.
Every once in a while, they're going to deliver to the wrong address. They're going to mess up some of your order. You're going to get the whole freaking order free. It's great. It's a huge discount. It's my favorite thing about they deliver to my next door neighbor 1 out of every 4 orders. And you know what I do? I look at the picture and say, "Oh, that's not me. I don't know where those groceries are." And you know what? That's a week of free groceries. It's great. I love this economy. Buy it in America. Let's go, baby.
Okay, thank you for calling in, sir. Good luck at your work. Bye bye. We're just gonna keep going. We're gonna keep pushing them out, gang. We're gonna keep pushing them out. And gang, if you're liking this content, if you're enjoying this show, if you want to call in, right? There's some things you can do and you should do for me. You want to go onto YouTube and hit that like button right now. Right the fuck now. Like the stream. Subscribe, right? So you can keep coming to the stream, keep seeing more of me, okay? We got some great shows coming up this week. And if you're on Twitch or Kick, hit that follow button. You can keep following me. Give me some subs, give me some bits. All of that helps. Really supports the channel. Let's bring on the next contestant, whatever this is. You are live. What do you have?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you. Hi, what's going on?
Hi, here, let me go ahead and turn off the fan here. Sorry, it's so hot in this apartment. I'm literally like sitting next to my fan, clinging to it for dear life, but I know it ruins the audio. I
I
here,
thought
I
you were
just
on a
want
walk at first. I'm like, is she outside?
Yeah,
Is
me
she just
too.
going around?
No, I'm just inside, just clinging to the fan for dear life. But yeah, no, I just wanted to pop in, say hi, say happy Memorial Day to Wick, thank you for your service. And
Once
actually, I
again,
wanted to
Memorial
oh,
Day is not for me, but go on.
well, I gotta ask. I wanted to ask you about a question about that phrase. Thank you for your service. There's an article that was published in the New York Times that talks about that phrase, and what it says is that veterans, apparently, according to the article, have mixed feelings on it. There are some veterans who really, really like it, and they really like it, like when people come up and say thank you for your service. Thank you for serving abroad. We really appreciate it. And then there are some people who have served in the military who don't like it. They make fun of people who say thank you for your service. They pretend to get misty-eyed and they thank each other for each other's services. Um, they get angry. They feel as though like it's stolen valor in a sense, like you're trying to take credit for me going abroad. And I just wondered like what your opinions on that phrase were, because I've heard mixed opinions, and
Sure.
I wonder what your thoughts were.
So I'd never make fun of anyone for thanking me for their for my service, right? And to Ghosty's asking, "Are you a veteran Wick?" I didn't know. Yeah, I served in the Air Force for 6 years. I was a crypto linguist for 3 of those years, and for the other 3, I was a crew chief, and I worked on the KC-135 airframe. It was okay. I mean, I didn't mind it. It gave me a lot of money. I made bank in the service, right? But yeah, like when we talk about people coming up to thank me for my service, even when I was a serviceman, right? Um, Ambivalent. I think that a lot of people, when they hear you were in the military, they have these ideas of what you did, right? They all saw Saving Private Ryan, okay?
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
all saw, right, the Vietnam movies and all these what was it, Metal Jacket? Full Metal Jacket
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
Vietnam movie.
Mhm. Yeah.
They've seen all these movies, okay? And they have this idea in their head, "Oh, you were in the military." And they think of you on the front lines fighting back against
Yeah.
Charlie or whatever. I didn't do any of that. I was never on the front lines. I was on a base a couple times where mortars got shot at me, but it was at the planes, not at me. But there were, always a chance, right? But I've never been like in a lot of danger. Um, it's one of those things where I understand why they do it, and I think it's good that they do, and I'd never make fun of someone for doing it, but it's just, I don't know. Like, if you want to thank me for my service, send me some money. I don't donate to the stream. That would thank me for the service, but yeah, I'm glad. Look, the military, I am positive on the military. I think the American military is a great organization. It has huge issues. There's a reason I'm not in the military anymore, right? Because I
Mhm.
did not renew my contract. I was honorably, right? I honorably served. I did my full stint of 6 years and I got out. But it's not something that I would sign up for again. It's something
Mm.
that I'm too much of a free spirit for the military, let's say
Mhm.
that. But that's a me issue, not a military issue. Um does that answer your question?
It does. I just wondered about your perspective.
Sure.
I
Can I, before you go on too much, right? I wanted to talk about the Memorial Day thing because I think
Yeah.
that bears touching on, and it's something that a lot of people will say, right? Happy Memorial Day. I wish all our veterans a good Memorial Day. This is something that I actually have really strong feelings on. Memorial Day is not for me. It's not for
Mm.
any living veteran you know.
For the dead ones to
V
remember
got it
them.
right. It's for the people who paid the ultimate
Memorable.
price, who made the ultimate sacrifice, who died in service of their country, right?
You really never
Um,
think about it that. That's a thing too. Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like people will have a barbecue and things like that, which is great. I like barbecue. It's great. But it's not for the veterans. We have a day for us, Veterans
Mhm.
Day, and believe me, gang, I'm going to be taking full advantage of that. All the free meals I get, right? It's great. But Memorial Day is just not. It's not for me. So no need to thank me or wish me a special happy Memorial Day or anything. It's just not my holiday. Don't want to steal any
Yeah.
valor.
Well, fair enough. I just wanted to pop in. I thought it was interesting. And I wondered about it myself, which is why I wanted to get your perspective because I know that you served, and I wanted to ask you as well. I know, like, gosh, there were so many weird things about growing up in the military that I remember. Like one thing that is true, like for me growing up, like this is not true for civilian movie theaters. I remember we had to stand up. And like the national anthem would
Yes.
play, and
Mm-hmm.
there would be like a 4-minute video, and it would show planes going through the air, bombs dropping, tears strolling down, a soldier's face. He'd be clutching a gun. You'd see a mom with a baby in the airport as like her husband is going on tour and going off into the air, like all this stuff, right? And we had to stand up, put our hands in our hearts, and wait for it to finish. And then we would sit back down, and then we would watch the film. And like there were so many little things like that. Like we had to make extra care that the front yard was clean. We couldn't leave toys out. We couldn't do anything too weird because then my dad would get in trouble. It was a big deal like every year when inspections came around. I remember sometimes the national anthem would play, and when that happened on a base, everyone, I don't care how old you are, I don't care what was happening, you had to stop what you were doing. You had to turn to the flag, you had to put your hand on your heart, and you had to stand silently until the national anthem stopped playing. And I don't know. There are like so many little things like that that's like it's hard to explain to people that like didn't grow up on a military base that makes it, I don't know, a unique experience.
I agree. Did you grow up military? Were you ever in the military, V?
Oh, no. I
No?
feel like at some point I had wanted to join the military. I felt that I could do it. But I felt that, or what I've heard from a lot of people is that I'm very trigger happy. I have butterfly knives. Um,
Jesus Christ.
I'm so sorry. I'm very trigger. That's what people have said that I've never held a gun in my life.
Well, now I'm
But
glad you don't. Like, I don't want you to start, oh, look, a trigger. Pow, 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 right?
um, well, actually, I'm so sorry. I think my first time playing paintball, what you call it? I took out they were my friends. I took out their whole team by myself. Um, so
What the hell? Do
like
we have, like, the
yeah.
next fucking Terminator in here? What is
Oh
going
God.
on?
Okay.
So um, and I was like only that was years ago, back in high school. But yeah, I've been told that I come off as very trigger happy. So, but I
Okay.
feel like if I had ever joined the military, I would definitely be one of those people who wouldn't have like made it mentally,
Mm.
just with PTSD. Um,
Hmm.
and I definitely haven't even thought about joining it now because like I'm recovering from an injury right now with the torn meniscus.
I
So
understand.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I'm sorry. I hope you
Yeah.
feel
yeah,
better soon. Yeah, and
yeah.
heal soon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, Fairy Queen, thank you for
absolutely.
calling in. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you, and we're going to let you go
All
to the void, right? Where they all go eventually. Um, I'm going to try to get you in the order that you came in, gang. I see you there. I'm going to be real with you. I don't remember the order you came in. So we're just going to pick a number, 1, 2, or 3. V.
3.
3. Okay, hello, you're live.
Oh, real.
Try again. Hello, you're live. One more
I think
try.
they're not ready.
Don't click join voice. Don't, oh, they can't even hear me. They're deafened. What is going on? Maybe this was a bad. I blame you, V. Okay.
I
blame
blame you
you.
too.
You're live, buddy. What you got?
Hello? Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
what you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I had kind of something I was thinking about that actually relates to something I learned in college. So I don't know. Are you guys familiar with like Immanuel Kant at all?
Vaguely. I read his work a long time ago. Um, A Critique of Pure Reason. Is that the guy?
I'm not sure. So the reason I'm bringing it up, I remember learning about him in my ethics class,
Okay.
and one of the ideas that he had that kind of like made sense to me. I think it was like the whole deontology thing, or however you say that, which is essentially that like when you're asking if something is morally right or wrong, you essentially ask like, what would the world look like if I did this, whatever it is. And part of me, part of me was thinking about how that applies to like people's opinions on like the world stage, especially when it comes to like Israel Palestine. Like I know like Wick, you critique a lot the people who are like very explicitly like pro Hamas. But I just can't help wonder if some of these people, like especially at these protests, are kind of like of that mentality where they're just thinking like, look, if the world cracked down on Israel's actions, not even saying they're right or wrong, there's just no doubt about it that Israel would change what they're doing. You know, I think this relates to a lot of other things too. Like I don't know if you had something like factory farming. Like if everybody just stopped wanting to buy factory farming meat, eventually like the companies would have to respond and treat their animals better. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, especially as someone who like is really critical of some of the pro-Palestine people.
So my thoughts on this is that I think we have a group of people who are diverse in what exactly they want it for, but they all want pretty much the same thing. They all want to see Palestine to be free, and that's great. I do too. But the problem is in how they're going about doing it and the way that they're trying to do it. I think that freeing Palestine by destroying Israel is going to just make everything in that region worse, just bar none. I don't want to see it happen. I will fight against it if I have to, and I do, rhetorically at least. I think that the only path forward that doesn't result in ethnic cleansing and genocide is a two-state solution. Now, when you ask about like if this idea that everyone thinks that if everyone just stops doing this or everyone starts doing this other thing, the world would be better. Maybe, right? But it's one of those easier said than done things. Like
Of course, there's nuance.
when we talk about boycott, divestment, and sanction, right? BDS. It's something that a lot of pro-Palestine people, activists, advocate for when it comes to Israel. We boycott, divest, sanction. The problem here is that there's a lot of things that we get from Israel that are very hard to get, like smart chip manufacturing. So like you guys heard of Taiwan and their the little chips that they make that go into electronics. One of the reasons we support Taiwan is because they're one of the few places that actually make these chips. We passed the Chip Act recently that's supposed to create some domestic production of them, but currently that's going to take years, and we don't have it now. Aside from Taiwan, one of the only other places we get these things from is Israel. Israel manufactures these and sells it to us. And I don't see a world where we stop buying from them, especially something that's so needed in that. When we look at AI, when we look at a lot of tech and research, it comes out of Israel, right? So the relationship isn't just us funneling money in them from the goodness of our hearts. We get a lot of stuff from them. And I just don't see a realistic path to just entirely divest from Israel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think there can be like some nuance to it for sure. But even in that world, I mean, like I could see someone arguing and saying like, well, isn't that more of a reason to become like independent with certain things, like with the Chip Act, trying to become independent with those things? And I
Sure,
think
it'd be
like
nice.
I think yeah, I think part of this like I think this is the demographic of people that Biden is going to have a tough time getting is the people who are thinking very. I mean, you call it black and white, you can call it principled, depending on your view. But the people that are essentially like, look, you did this, this is wrong. Because I used to think that way a little bit. It's actually one of the reasons I didn't vote at all in 2020. I was kind of like a Bernie or bust guy. Now as I've gotten older, I realized there's like more nuance to that. Um, but it does make me wonder how the Biden administration is going to appeal to people who are just like, look, you did this, this is wrong. Like, if somebody thinks that way, I don't know how you appeal to them, and I certainly don't think it's helpful because I see this sometimes in the discourse. I certainly don't think it's helpful to be like, well, you're just an idiot, you're evil, you want Trump to win. Because I see that sometimes, and even if you disagree with like the result of what they're doing, I do think it's silly to just go after them as like, oh, well, you're like a pseudo Trump supporter or something. You know what I mean?
So here's the thing. We have a limited amount of energy and resources. And
Mhm.
it's true that calling out someone who says, I'm never going to vote for Biden or I don't like Biden, and just calling them and saying they're stupid and they're harming everyone probably isn't effective. But I think the best path forward, if someone right now, especially on the left, if they're saying, I'm not going to vote for Biden because I have Israel Palestine, just ignore them and move on. Use your resources, use your persuasion, use all your time to persuadable voters. I don't think they're persuadable. I don't think they're gettable. I don't think that they're coming over. And so rather than beat our head against the wall trying to appeal to them, which will never work, in my opinion, because they even when you do what they want, it's never enough. It's always too late. And we've seen this time and time again. We saw this with them giving college debt relief. No, he should have done it sooner. It should have been more, right? We saw this with him holding funding for the military to Israel, which he did with the Rafah Red Line. Not enough. He's still Genocide Joe, right? We see this again and again and again. We do what they want, but we don't get anywhere, and they don't give us their vote. We can't, it's unearnable. And so, again, I think that there are people we can appeal to whose votes we can get that are more in the center, that I think that's where we should be putting our resources, our time, and our attention to. Getting the persuadable voter. Politics is the art of the possible. Persuasion is also the art of the possible. You have to talk to the people who are willing to be persuaded, and I don't think those people are. What are your thoughts, V, before we move on?
I can agree with you on moving on onto somebody whose stance isn't going to change. It's like talking to a wall half the time, like especially in the situation with like Hamas and Gaza. Um, uh, trying to persuade somebody who's just not gonna even budge is a big way. It's like going in circles. Like you're literally gonna lose your mind in that aspect, no matter how much you think that person might change. And I was actually no. The when you brought up the whole burning our bus, I remember that being like a really big hit for people. Um I was in high school at the time, and like one of my teachers, like, he started crying so hard with that election. It was like crazy when that happened, because it was like the world was ending when that happened, when Trump got elected, because you
Yeah,
honestly
that was
didn't think he was gonna make it. Nobody thought so.
Okay, I'm going to step in here before I let Shockwave have his final thoughts. But
sure.
look, it's never going to be the end of the world, gang. There's always
Obviously.
next election. So I,
Obviously.
I know the feeling, right? It sucks to lose, right? I remember my first ever election I voted in, my guy lost. My guy lost. And it sucked. But then we just pull ourselves back up. We dust ourselves off, and we prep for the next election. And that's how the democracy works, baby. But Shockwave, last thoughts before we cycle
Famously.
you out.
Yeah, no, well, I guess the final thing I would say that on that, it's not like Trump is going to be more left wing than Biden on it. You know, that's kind of what gets me is like, even if you're like this no vote person because of principle, it's like that's fine, but you have to realize that whatever Biden's doing that you don't like, Trump's probably going to go in and make it 10 times whatever it is in terms of policy towards
Well, this
war
is
and
why
being
I know that they're
awful,
not
whatever.
gettable. This is why I know that they're not
Yeah,
gettable. Is because it's
no,
not about Gaza. It's not about Palestinians. It's about punishing Joe Biden. That's what they want. Because if they cared about Gaza, if they cared about Palestine, they would want Trump far, far, far away from the White House. And yes, Trump isn't Netanyahu. Trump isn't in charge of Israel. But Biden has used his influence to lessen what is happening, and Trump would simply do nothing or exacerbate it. Shockwave, thank you for calling in. For
yep,
now,
thanks.
bye bye. Hi, you're live.
Hello
You're
in the
muted
seventh.
on your end.
Oh, hey. How well am I coming in?
You were
Uh,
low.
little low, yeah.
Yeah, but you're coming through.
Okay. Does this help out any bit?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you're live. What you got?
Okay. Just want to make sure I was coming in pretty well. I saw your conversation, and due to this being the year for a lot of political canvassing, people advocating for their politicians, all that, and obviously there's a very dedicated and infatuated base with Donald Trump. I was interested in picking your brain a bit about not just people who are voters, as in Republicans, who are going for Trump. I was interested in just not only just the dogmatic people, but how it's far more easier in terms of Republicans just to act as an opposition. Because while I think sometimes in terms of leftist politics, there's a exhaustive level of purity testing. This level of rigor is vacuous or like non-existent on the other side of the coin. So I want to know why you think that is.
V, you want to take this one first?
Oh, he just muted himself again.
Just mean myself
Um,
because I'm good. Yeah.
I think I need a more breakdown of what exactly you're asking for.
I suppose the best way to describe it is if a Republican is just promoting their candidate, such as Trump, this particular instance, it's just merely to be opposed to Biden, and there's been exceptional amount of criticism exhaustively about Biden, and you don't want him as president. Whereas it feels as though that isn't not only enough, but it is required to do more as anyone left wing democratic to like be exhaustively like purity tested. And I just want to know why you think there's a, I guess the best way to describe it is less of a level of scrutiny to that. Like why is there like a leniency on the other side of the coin?
Oh, to like the way Democrats are like, always riding with Biden and like
Not fighting with body, yeah, but like more like unwilling to like there's a certain cutoff point that most Democrats look bad, whereas it doesn't happen on the other side of the fence. I think I even remember a while back ago where people were unironically bending over backwards to explain away the remedies Donald Trump was giving for COVID vaccines, and that was something that
Sure.
was occurring as well. And
I can,
oh, can I not?
yeah, I can answer your question, and maybe I'll
Okay,
help V out a little too, and then
yeah.
she can kind of jump in when she's ready. Um, so Reagan, had a, a policy, and he really affected Republican culture. And one of those policies that he put forward is, and he really stressed this throughout his party, was party solidarity. Republicans do not eat their own. That has been kind of the rallying cry for a long time. Now that's changing. There's a lot of I I would challenge your assertion that Republicans, at least outside of MAGA, are just more likely to fall in line with Trump. I think we could see the Nikki Haley voters and some others. There are warning signs for Trump that he's just not going to get the vote that he expects and thinks he is. However, again, it's a culture thing. On the Republican side, you vote for Republican, like straight down the ticket. It's seen as a loyalty thing. Republicans tend to, conservatives in general, tend to value loyalty more. Um, Democrats tend to be more big tent, and that comes with a lot of infighting. Uh, and that, again, we try to push and pull and vie for who's going to be leading the tent, who's going to be the in charge of the circus, if you will. And so we are more used to fighting on that scale. But that's just my intuition. V, do you want to add to this? Go ahead.
Um, yeah, I can agree with the whole like Republicans not stepping on their own. But I feel like I can only really speak for myself. I think like being a liberal, it's like I think we're more focused on issues of like being for the people and like not not really trying to shit on Republicans per se, but their views are like, a little skewed in some way. I feel like no matter how you can even like phrase it, Republicans, they're kind of like they're like one whole like organism, like supporting itself and like just kind of riding on the backs of each other. So I don't necessarily know the scrutiny. Am I saying that right?
Sure. The scrutiny. Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
It's more of just a that's kind of just how I personally do it. Like I'm just trying to like educate people. I'm not necessarily trying to like shit on people. But that's
Sure.
just like my way of like phrasing it.
I guess a really simple way I look at it is that in general, and again, this is general. Please don't get on my case here. MAGA voters are very tied to a person, Trump.
Yeah.
Whereas Democrats and progressives are tied to causes.
Yeah.
And I think this can create a lot of more infighting than everyone gets behind Trump or gets out. What are your thoughts, dear sir, dear caller? What views do you have? Did we answer your question?
Yeah, I think you guys did a pretty good job of giving
Yeah.
me something to work with, and I think one of the elements of what you pointed out was the ability to rally behind somebody, whereas I would say that like more democratic parties are all oriented around the system in of itself working out as just, which um, I suppose detaches one from participation, like at least in terms of immediacy and like whether that be like local voting, anything like that. Because if the system, as it's supposed to be operating with a democratic participant as your president, then things are supposed to be working. Whereas it doesn't talk about or speaks towards the direct involvement you should have in other participation or other facets. Whereas I would say something that might make people more dogmatic for someone like Trump or a Kanye for some reason is usually the overlap in populist like rhetoric, how that invokes the individual in question to feel more inspired to be involved more than anything else, as well as Trump kind of giving the people the feeling that they were pulling the veil behind corruption and politicians while also being a politician of himself, but using him as a figurehead for all those beliefs, despite or regardless of how contradictory it is, it can inspire them to believe this is the way, regardless of any sort of immediate contradictions that comes from the speaking head. So that's my thought on it.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming by and thank you for asking
Yeah.
the questions. We still got a couple more people we need to get to. But hey,
Oh,
buddy, I appreciate you.
yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. Thank you. Hopefully, I see you guys on the panels. I enjoy your panels, and hopefully, see you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
See
try.
you later, buddy. Bye.
We try.
What a nice caller. I hope we answered your
Yeah.
question. Look, it's a complicated topic and I don't have all the answers for this. Like it's a very
Right.
sociological kind of thing. It's something we can observe that happens, but the why of it is mostly just intuition and guesswork on my part.
Yeah.
Based on previous statements, previous behaviors, the people I've known in my life. Please don't take it as scientifically sound. I'm not using any kind of peer-reviewed data for this. Just my observations. Let's bring on the next caller. Hi, you're live.
Oh, the picture.
Hello.
Hi,
I
what you
won't
got for
know.
us?
So yeah, actually, oh, so
Ooh.
thank
Oh,
you.
you're breaking
I'm
up. You're breaking up. I
I'm a
don't know if
proud
it's your
Joe Biden
mic
supporter.
or hello.
So anyway, I wanted to say I think that the election people are a little too concerned about it right now. I think what we don't know is how Donald Trump's convictions are going to affect the polls or effectively affect his candidacy.
What do you mean?
Because I think that if Donald Trump gets convicted on, well, I think he's going to get convicted on the was it the Manhattan trial, even though it's probably the weakest case against him. I think if that case comes out with a conviction, people are going to start to wonder. A lot of normie people are going to start to tune in, like, "Wow, wait, hang on a second, what's this guy actually up to?"
Now,
And I
so
think that's
you
going
say
to change
this.
the.
You say this that his conviction in this trial is being held in Manhattan, I believe. and it's going to be give him a conviction, and it's likely to do so. Like looking at or talking to legal scholars and things like that, lawyers,
Yeah.
there's likely to be a conviction. There's almost no chance of jail time. There's almost no chance of any of that. But there's likely going to find him guilty. But the problem here is, I don't think that's going to move the scales. I don't think that's going to
Yeah.
change the game. Do you disagree?
Really? Because people have a lot of reservations about voting for a convict. It's true. It was true in my state. It was true in North Carolina. It was true. It's true in every state,
But
actually.
any
When you get a conviction for a crime, it's kind of your chances start to go downhill rapidly.
that again, that in a normal cycle with a normal candidate, maybe so. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Trump. And Trump has a cult of personality that is not, right, mirrored in these other races. It's just not. And in fact, there's a risk that convictions can make him more popular.
Yeah.
And it just solidifies his base, and people see it as persecution, election interference, all these things. So any gains we may get from people being hesitant to vote for a convicted person, I think are outweighed by those. But I don't know. This is just me prognosticating. So I'm a Biden voter. I want Biden to win. If he gets convicted, rightfully so, and he goes down in the polls and suffers electorally for that, great. But this is it's something we keep hearing about over and over and again. It's this, now we've got him. Finally, this is gonna stick. Finally, we're gonna nail him down. Finally, we're gonna beat him, and it just never works out. And so I'm not holding my breath. That's all.
So that's a good analysis, but unfortunately, you're kind of just missing something in that we're not actually going for the Trump supporters, like the hardcore MAGA people. We're going for the people who are like the normies. And one of the biggest lines you could use against any politician is they're a crook. It's like, oh, well, everyone says that my opponent's a crook. It's like, no, no, no. My opponent actually is a crook, and he's been convicted by a jury of our peers, and they say he's a crook. People, that really does move the needle a lot, especially with the people who are just like, I'm kind of just tuning in. I don't really know a whole lot what's going on. A lot of people don't follow this stuff a lot. And when you had the negative of Trump being a convicted felon, and on top of, that line of attack of just being a crook, it really does start to add up, and it does start to be like, let me look into this guy. And then they see the documents case, the January 6th case.
Do you think normies haven't looked into this guy, though? Like,
actually, you'd be surprised. People just kind of hand wave like a lot of stuff until like the election. And I speak from was it 6 years of actually working campaigns. People don't pay attention to like an election until that sweet spot, those 3 weeks before the election, where they're like, oh wait, shit, that's coming up. Who are these people? And then they do like a crash course, basically. And then and then people who are nonpartisan, the normies, they kind of come in at the last minute and they swing the election one way or the other. You got to understand, not a lot of people follow politics religiously.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But Trump is someone normies have known about for a long, long time. Normies knew about Trump before political people knew about Trump, right? I think also that, again, just with, I don't think you have to be a political savvy guy to know about Trump's issues. I don't think, I think that even normal people in my family that don't normally talk politics, that'll mention these things, right? Again, I think that, yes, you're right, we should be going after the normie voters, but I don't think his trial is going to have anything to do with that. I think how we appeal to the normie voters is by drawing a big distinction between the behaviors of Biden and the behaviors of Trump outside of the criminality, right? And I think we're going to look at the Democrats in general and how Biden has supported Ukraine, and Trump wishy-washy on it. How Biden has been pretty pitch perfect when it comes to Israel-Palestine, whereas Trump we don't really know, right? Um,
Mm.
there's a lot of these things that we can point to, and I think that people, again, what's going to sink Trump, in my opinion, is going to be the January 6th stuff. That's going to sink Trump. Like, people are going to
Yeah.
Oh,
remember
absolutely.
his role on January 6th. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's going to sink Trump the most, and to be honest, like this is Trump's like critical flaw, is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is his own worst enemy. He just is. The only reason he won in 2016 was because, well, Hillary is just unlikable. I liked Hillary. I thought she was very qualified, but she's just unlikable. She has the charisma of a dead fish. Donald Trump is funny, but even with being funny and likable kind of person with his charisma, he still didn't even crack. I think he barely cracked 50% in most states, and that's 2016 and 2020 in the swing states. He he sinks his own candidacy. He really does. And when people just like the deluge of just like Trump stuff constantly, they're just like, I just can't stand this guy. He gets in front of too many cameras. You need to kind of pull back a little bit, like Joe Biden has done, and like kind of just be like, I'm the president. I'm out running stuff. I don't really have the time to just be in front of a camera 24/7. Donald Trump never met a camera he doesn't like, and people just get tired of seeing you as a politician. There's like, oh, this guy's on the ball,
Yeah,
but then you see him too much, and they're just like, fuck me,
it's
get out of my face.
it's guesswork, honestly. I think that we will have a better picture of how the election's going to go when we get to August. I think that even now we can see trends and we can try to lay the prep work, lay the groundwork, but August to November is going to be it's going to be game time, right? Where we're going to see both campaigns really figure out what messaging they're going to go with, who they're going to target, and what really is going to sell to the public. And until we get there, I don't know, like, if any of this is going to have a huge effect. Like, so you came in about the convictions. We'll see. That's my statement on it. Anything else before you go? We got a line, so.
No, thank you for having me, and it's always a
Always.
pleasure. Thank you, Wick, for your
Yeah,
panels.
no problem. Thank you for being a caller and a viewer. I really appreciate you, buddy. What a great guy. Oh, for people asking in chat, how do you join? You !Discord. You click the link. You accept the rules. You jump backstage, and if we get to you, we get to you. We got quite a bit of a line, so we'll see who we get to. How you holding up, V? Are you doing okay?
Cool. What'd you call it? Definitely talking about politics a lot. I see our what'd you call it? We got somebody who came back who's in our line.
Yeah, we will. Well, there's a lot of them there. We'll get to as
Yeah.
many as we can.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you,
Oh, ask me. Yes, go ahead.
are you married?
No, why?
Well, because I don't know. I figured as much. You're like a grown up. How old are you?
I'm a grown up. I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
I don't talk about my relationship stuff or lack thereof or anything like that. It's not to be rude or anything, but it's not for
Yeah.
public consumption. So I could have 20 wives, I could have 30 girlfriends or boyfriends for that matter. None of you, dear viewers, will ever know. So, yeah.
Okay. I was just
Okay,
curious.
no problem. Caller, hi.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Hey, sorry about that. What you got for
Oh,
us?
you're fine. I want to do three things. The first two are kind of really quick. The first one is I want to glaze you a little bit, Wick, because
I'm here for it.
I work for the DoD, so I actually currently am working with OUSD-INS.
Okay.
So we do intelligence and security. That's our whole department. And I can't tell you how much of our actual people don't understand how much we depend on Israel as an ally for intel in the Middle East because we can't get our people in some of these places. Because, I mean, like, imagine me going into the Middle East and being like, hey, my brothers, and trying to get intel. They're not going to give me shit. We need actual people from there, and Israel's just better at it. They're just better at that, and so we really depend on them. So we're never going to let them fail as an ally. We need someone there, so we'll prop somebody else up or figure something else out. That's not going to happen. So you're kind of right on that. The second thing was I heard a lot of your conversations about like the Democrats and stuff like that. I'm not really politically savvy, but something I tend to notice is people, Republicans that don't like Trump are still going to vote for him because they dislike Democrats more. Whereas Democrats aren't going to vote for Biden because they don't, I guess they just don't see the boogeyman. They don't realize like not voting for Biden does help Trump, but they don't see it like that. They just see it not supporting Biden. So that's
So
just something I've kind of
yeah,
noticed.
on that, like a lot of the people um, a lot of the people who say they're not going to vote for Joe Biden weren't going to vote
Very true.
anyway, right? Like when we
Yeah.
look at non-voters, like when they do polls, and when they look at non-voters are people who haven't voted in the past. They have no record of voting. They don't indicate that they're going to vote anytime soon. They tend to prefer Trump. Likely voters, registered voters, those people, specifically likely voters, tend to go Biden, by only about 2 points. It's very slim. But yeah, that's how we're looking at now. So
That's
when people are saying I'm
yeah.
not going to vote for Biden, right? There's odds that they've never voted in their fucking lives, and so we will,
True, but
right?
doesn't
That's
that
crazy.
change when you start having pundits and other people like Cenk Uygur actually pushing not to vote for him, like the progressive movement? Doesn't that put a little bit
I
more
I, I
onus?
worry. I worry that you're right and that it does. I don't know though. I don't
True.
know the impact because you have other voices that are pushing for you, like saying, "Hey, now's the time." Even Vosh, right? Even Vosh, who again, he said like Biden's a fascist or whatever. He does his weird mixed messaging, but he's told people that to vote for Biden because he's just better than the alternative. So yeah, it's a I don't know how much the impact's going to do. I'm working on because I want Biden to win. I'm working on to minimize the damage that they do and to maximize the good that people like me can do. V, you
I
were
feel
trying to
you on
get in
that.
here before
Yeah.
I interrupted you. Go ahead. What do you think?
Um, I that was just like a really interesting point that I didn't even realize that people um who say that they're not going to vote for Biden haven't voted at all and are most likely like if they were to they would vote for Trump. I didn't even realize that because my father's like that,
Yeah, that's
unfortunately.
my first time hearing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's really interesting. The main thing I wanted to ask you, you guys, and get your opinions on is me personally. It's a big concern of mine because, like I said, I'm one of the things I do with DoD is I'm specific in records management. So I go to every component throughout the DoD, ANS, INS, the cyber team, all those people, and we are helping maintain their records. So like all this drama about Biden and the classified documents, Trump and all the classified documents, I deal with all that. And one of the things we've started to see a lot is implementation of AI technology. And we're starting to see some of this AI get like really advanced and really crazy. On the civilian side, though, I see it being used for a lot more harm and the potential for harm. I don't think there's enough regulation for it. Have you guys put any thought into like how dangerous this AI stuff is, like the deep fakes?
Yeah, no, I
Um,
get you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, V. I'll let you go first this time.
Um, are we thinking in a general sense or just like political, like strictly
Well, I
political?
mean, like, think about like it's becoming more available for me. I can just make a deep fake porn of my neighbor's wife, and there's no
Yeah.
legal recourse he has. You can't own your likeness as long as I in the
Don't
like if
do
I
that,
post.
gang. By the way, don't
Don't do
do it.
that.
Even if
It's
it's legal,
horribly
don't do it.
unethical.
Yeah.
Exactly, but we don't have any laws, any regulations on it. The tech is coming out. You've seen these real sex dolls that have like AI heads, and they have like communication with you. The only reason they're not making kid versions of those is
Oh
because
no.
the companies that make them don't do it. They have an ethical stance against it.
Right.
So a company's ethics, talk about like late stage capitalism, what a lot of progressives complain about. All it would take is one company not having those ethics
Right.
for it to be something that happens. So like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's scary.
Yeah.
To that level, you think about like, oh, like deepfakes are just like, it's like people meme on that, you know what I mean? They don't take it too seriously. But when you think of the big picture of like a company not having ethics to like, make I don't even like saying it, to just
Yeah, no.
make that kind of like um product available, that's crazy.
Mm.
But would you think of if that were true and a really big possibility, do you think that take it this way, would that minimize I'm about to say something really
No,
controversial.
I know the argument you're gonna make. It's been
Yeah,
made, if giving those
No,
robots to
no.
those kind of people.
I want to
would
hear.
the
I want to hear her
would
say.
that would that minimize would that minimize child rapists and pedophiles? Would that
I'm
be a
gonna
better alternative?
I'm gonna say no just because of my experience with the when I was at the bureau. I saw real heinous shit from those kind of people. And I'm not a psychologist, so I can't speak on it. But one of
Right.
the jobs I had, I don't know if you know about like declassification or stuff like that. I have to go reading through some of these documents, and we have a classification for those specific kind of people. And we had a lot of people that would quit because they had to read through those documents and like read those investigations. And they're not like agents. They're not critically trained people. They're just dudes who had a security clearance.
Yeah.
Um, and their thought process. I've heard that argument, and I used to think that might be a good argument if it was like, oh, maybe we should look into it if it works. They always escalate. So what you would be doing is adding another barrier, right?
But
Because
not
like
solving it.
no, because like almost always it's like they're these dudes that they start with like porn addiction. I know porn addiction is like a hot button subject, where they start like going on like crazy porn searches, and this is how you it follows a pattern almost. They start with like bestiality, and then they move on to the other stuff, and then they move on to
Bosch,
actually
if you're
trying to do it.
listening, beware. Beware. Go
Like
on.
face, you just like, oh god.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the darkest time of my life was the 2 years I worked night shift at the bureau, and I had to go through those documents. It wasn't solely those documents. It's just you would occasionally get those. Um, that was like, and I had a newborn at home. My wife had just
Oh
given
man.
birth, and so like I read a story about a random dude stumbled upon a girl outside her yard and just stabbed her, and then did the deed after.
Okay. Well, you know what,
Yeah.
gang? In the interest of
Sorry, my
monetization
bad.
of my channel, I'm
Yeah.
going to move off the
Yes.
CP
Back to the
subject.
AI.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go back to the
Yeah.
more the deep fake when it comes to like
Mm-hmm.
political messaging and things like that.
Right.
I think that like when we talk about AI, it's powerful. Good, evil, it's powerful. It's a tool. And I think that the countries that begin to develop drone technology, right? Like I think we are going to see in the next 10 to 15 years AI drones going out and doing the work that soldiers used to do, right? And being involved in combat in ways we haven't seen before. We can see this the drone warfare in Ukraine area, how that has been a development. Myanmar, of all places, autonomous like drone combat happens there too. And so the countries that utilize this technology, AI, in their war making capabilities are going to have such an advantage over those who don't. It's inevitable that it will happen. And in my opinion, it's inevitable that if we don't do it, they will. And if we want to keep up with it, we have to develop it. Now, barring any other side development to like knock out drones is just cheap and easy and abundant, right? Outside of that, a development of something like that, we are going to see AI be integrated into warfare in a way that is pretty scary. So when we talk about like, should we or could we, I think that's beside the point because it's going to happen. So how do we deal with it, right? Like how do we adjust to it? And I think that regulations are a good step, as long as they're followed, and that's a big if they're going to be followed. And also, I think there should be like a law of AI combat developed, right? Much like the law of armed combat, a law of AI combat. What that looks like, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with AI to say, but I think that it would be a wise step. What are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, within the DoD, that is a thing. We have a new. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of it, but so I won't. But we have a new department within the DoD that I'm working with currently, or on the schedule to work with in September. That's whole thing is AI in the military, or in that sense. There is a conversation about the ethics of it, using AI, robotics, and stuff like that while combating armies that don't have that. But there's also the counterpoint that you brought up of what about the armies that do? We don't want to be the last ones to tech. That's why, honestly, us having nukes first is the only reason we're a superpower. Like us getting
Yeah.
those nukes and dropping them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like if we didn't do that first, I looking back, it's hard to say hindsight, but historically, I don't know how different our world would be if Russia had the first nukes, or China or Japan or someone like that, one of the axis is like Germany. So I get your concern there on the military side. And we are like, in DoD, there's huge discussions going on about this, but I do think we have to hold ourselves in warfare. As much as people don't believe it, America, we hold ourselves to a higher standard when conducting warfare. Um, I don't think we can I think it's unethical to be using those things against footmen,
Sure.
humans. So I think
Why?
we need to temper ourselves that way.
But
I
why?
still think the technology needs to be developed.
Yeah, because what a lot of people don't realize is that the way we learn to fight and counter different technological advancements, such as AI drones and things, is by developing them, testing them, and using them in ways that we can see how they work. What are the ways that the counter forces could use against us, and then developing ways to counter that, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to happen, right? We're going to develop
Yeah.
them. Whether we use them widespread on the battlefield, I don't know, but yeah. Any
The
last
question was
thoughts? We do
more
have a bit of a
about.
line.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
I'll get up. My more thing I kind of wanted your two inputs on,
Please.
or to talk about a little bit, was the civilian side of it. The regular people, like teenagers are now going to be able to make deep fake porn of their teachers, or
Oh my god.
teachers are going to be able to say that's not me, that's deep fake, and there's no way to, it's getting even harder and harder to indistinguish that. So how do we regulate that? Do we allow people to own their likeness? And if so, how do you even manage that craziness? Or do we start to make it to where you can't use AI technology as a civilian? Or how's the
I think
regulation on that look on
the
the
cat's
civilian
out of the
side?
bag on using it as a civilian. Like
Yeah.
the tools are available, they're widespread. It's not as advanced as it maybe could be, but it's pretty up there, right? You can make some
Yeah.
weird AI stuff. Um, Man, I just think this is something we're going to need to adjust to culturally. I don't see a legal avenue, right? Like we talk about banning AI deepfakes and stuff, and there are laws against it. I think there should be punishments if you were caught using these things, but how enforceable that will be, I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Awesome. That's my time. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Bye.
What?
Crazy deepfakes. That's crazy.
Don't think about it
You
too
didn't.
much. It's goes some dark places. Okay, dark
Yeah.
places. I'm sure there's deep fake wicks saying crazy shit. Don't believe them. If you ever, gang, if you ever see a clip of me saying something you really hate, it was just no, it was AI, not me. Okay. So let's bring on one more. I think we got time for maybe one, maybe two more guests. So let's see what we got. Hi, you're live.
Unmuted.
Muted on your end, sir.
Whoop 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 whoop. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey,
What's
how
going on?
goes it, dude? Thank you for having me. Also, happy was it Tuesday? Yeah, happy Tuesday, dear. Hope everything's going well. Let's see. Three things, but you can choose one. All right, choose your own adventure. All right. Either the term barbarian and its use in RPGs, or let's see, the what was it? The Community episode that had the dark elf in it. Why did it get banned? Or what was the third one? Oh, yeah, D&D. Is there a place with D&D in Islamic version of D&D?
What? Hold on. How is an Islamic version different from a Christian version of D&D or a non-denominational version of D&D? No, let's let. Sorry, V. I was going to let you choose, but no, I'm.
Hey, all right.
Oh
I
no!
really, I'm really curious. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like the idea. Well, think of it this way. Well, actually, here's what did inspire me. There's Acheron Games is this Italian company that's come out with a few versions. So there's like Inferno, Dante's Inferno.
Right.
That's really cool. They've made a version of that. And then they recently just came out. The English version is still waiting publication, but the Italian versions on Drive-Thru RPG and all that stuff uh, for the Book of Revelations, and they call it Apocalypse. So it's about the apocalypse in that case, directly from like, and they're pulling all the monsters from like the Bible and whatnot from that
Huh.
section. So I guess it's all in relation to like, how could I put this? I find something like that to be unique because when you compare it with like where there was like the satanic panic in American history, it's so funny how far we've come. Like a long ways from those days of saying like, well, D&D is for those who are like, associated with Satan, and then they even had to then switch it out and say like, oh, well, no, we don't have demons. That's the human name for them, but they're called the Beatizu and Tanari, and they did that just simply so they could distance what was it? TSR could distance themselves from the whole satanic panic thing. So I was curious about that in terms of like the wider world. What would it ever look like?
Do
Um,
you do you think it would be okay if I was running an Islamic D&D campaign if I, as a dungeon master, roleplayed Muhammad?
if well, why?
Would I get in
I'm fine with you
trouble
doing.
from the Islam people? Like, would they give me a
Yeah.
fatwa if I didn't draw him or nothing, right? We're not using a mini to represent him.
Oh, that's an interest. Oh, but
But if I
representing him.
roleplayed him as in D&D, right? Like, is that haram? Is that halal? I don't know. What
I
do I
guess
have
it
any
depends what version.
Islam people?
Do we have
Muslims?
any Islamists in the chat?
Yeah, no.
Any Islamists?
Any Muslims in the chat that could tell me? Like, if I was role playing an Islamic campaign, right? Like based on Islamic lore, Islamic folklore, events in the Quran, right? Which might be an interesting campaign, to be clear, right? Like there's lots
Oh
of
yeah.
warfare, there's lots of combat. Could be really interesting. We could use a lot of Middle Eastern folklore and things like that, jinn and ifrit and all these things. Um, and the party wanted to meet up with Muhammad. Could I role play him?
That is the question. I mean, like, so here's the thing. There is a. Oh man, I used to have it in this room. I have it in the other room, but there's this. How can I put this? I don't know exactly what to put this as. In any case, long story short, second edition D&D, what they had was this setting called Al Qadim, and that's supposed to be like the general like Middle Eastern esque setting. So it does have like jinn and things like that. There's a revised. How can I forget what the best way to talk about it? It's kind of summarized version of like that whole genre of individual modules that came about called Zahara, and that's on Drive-Thru RPG. It's a beautiful book out there, and it's put together. I love going through it. It's one way of explaining that book is like it's supposed to be a kind of polytheisticized version of Islam, but you don't have like Ali there, right? And you don't have any of the like caliphs or anything like that. Like there's none of the Rashidun, but you have like elements in there. They're representative, yeah. Um, but I guess that's the thing is that I was again why I mentioned this is because it's so interesting that Acheron Games comes out with something directly from the Bible to D&D. So then culturally speaking, what would it take to have that like be either Quranically represented or maybe Quran and Hadith or something like that? That's been my curiosity. I was wondering if you had any thoughts.
So, if we're just talking setting, if we're just talking lore, I think we've
Mhm.
seen people do. I can't think of a system off the top of my head, right? But we have various like Arabian, Middle Eastern, Persian kind of influences that have come into certain stories. I've played in campaigns that are set in a kind of desert kingdoms and things like that. They draw a lot of inspiration from a lot of the lore, a lot of the folklore, a lot of the things like that, the culture, the society, or at least the Western views of their culture and society. Whether or not it's accurate is a different question, right? But I think it would be interesting, and I think there's nothing wrong or inherently bad, and it's absolutely okay to just have a different kind of source material than Christian mythology for this. Yeah, it would work.
Yeah, I'd be
Huh?
for it too. I guess
Cool.
then the only thing would be like, oh no, but yes, sorry. V, sorry. Hello. What do you think? You got any ideas on this?
I was more focused on what exactly you were asking about barbarians in RPG.
Oh. Well, that's an interesting. I didn't know any of this. I had heard only like whispers of like that the term barbarian at the beginning was like somewhat controversial. But you also hear a lot of things, and like when you got people who are saying everything's fine, don't change anything, and then you have people who are saying no, this is all like appropriation or something like that. You got both sides saying a lot of things, right? Um, so I didn't know what to think. But when I looked a little bit into it, and it apparently seems like the word barbarian comes from the word barbar, which extends itself from the word Berber. Berber, I didn't know this, is an older word that was used, I guess, by Roman society to then label a specific type of people who are North African. And the name that's now used, I think that it was what adopted by the group of people that it's usually referred to as Amazigh. So the term is either, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Amazigh or Amazigh, something like that. And so it kind of got me thinking, like,
Well, hold on. Just who's
yep,
mad about it?
nobody. Not the, oh
Okay, so
wait. Well, let me correct that a little bit. There's always somebody mad, right? Who would be mad about it? I don't think anybody would be mad about it, and I don't really see a huge push about it. But there
okay, we're
is
good
an
then.
interest.
Let's answer your
Yeah.
question.
Oh, okay. But there is an interesting. It's an interesting question to then see, like, who is this something to change, or is this something to just simply say, well, we kind of have some words that are the same as, like, we say the word jaywalk, right? And jay is a derogatory term for pedestrian. It's never changed. We say it to
Good.
the
Those
same.
pedestrians are very pedestrian. Pedestrian in and of itself is a derogatory term. Wow, your art is so pedestrian, right?
Oh my
Like this
god.
is it's look.
You sound like you're in a car right now.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal with the word police, okay? Right? Like
Okay.
this is why I didn't really buy into the whole controversy of Ravenloft. You heard the controversy, right? That they still use gypsies in the Ravenloft setting, and gypsies was an inappropriate term. They should use Romani, but gang, Romanis don't exist in the Ravenloft world, right? They were just basing it off their culture, right? It's it's just shorthand, um, and it became this big back and forth. Look, stop stop being so mad at shit that don't matter. That's all I gotta say to people. Last thoughts are on you, buddy, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Good to see you doing your thing, and everything's been going
You gonna
okay.
tune in to the Thursday show? We're gonna have a big debate between Harmony Ginger, Gelatinous Rube versus Philip Eucharist, and also against JMac, and they're gonna talk about storytelling, narrative-based
Ooh,
gaming versus sandbox-based gaming. Where do you stand? I'm curious.
that's interesting. Is this like like of whether to go with which for a campaign? You mean?
Yeah. Do you want to run a sandbox-based story or a narrative-based story? And you understand the difference, I assume?
Yeah. Like, well, here's one that's an easy idea for me. Like, if I'm just doing like a homebrew hex crawl versus something like if I got a published adventure, something like that. Yeah. Where do I stand with that? Honestly, if I don't have any time, I'm going with published adventure.
Okay.
If I want to just do a homebrew, if I'd probably, if I had time, go with a homebrew and then just have, yeah, you make your own world where there's the random
So,
church and random tables. Super fun.
yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you for calling in, buddy, and we'll see you later.
Take care.
Bye.
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 I like sandbox gaming.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about sandbox gaming do you like the most?
Well, one of my friends where I played like a solo D&D campaign. I guess he like came in tune to more about the idea of like Greek mythology because I love Greek mythology. So my character was Medusa, and there were these he created these 5 characters, like kind of like champions. Um, and I like the fact that with the way he like made it, it's just like I had a goal, but not really. Like I could do whatever I want, but it still stayed in tune with like the ideology of like Greek mythology. I thought that was cool. So I like that you can like definitely play with it a lot more rather than like trying to like you can build up as you go and not necessarily have to like build your character um to a certain degree. Like sandbox gaming is so open. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, I think that there's a lot of nuance between these two. I think you can have a narrative style of game within a sandbox, and you can also, vice versa, you can have more kind of like a sandbox way of playing within a greater narrative of a story. I think there are pros and cons. Like I like both. I like both for different things. Um, but yeah, no, gang, we are running out of time. We're done with the show. But if you've enjoyed this episode of our call-in show and you want to see more stuff like this, reward me financially. Throw some super chats my way, throw some gift subs. We're also going to let V tell you where you can find her if you'd like. And if you want to hear more about her takes or just, see her, we're going to tell you where you can go. V, what do you got?
You can find me mostly on Twitter. I'm very open to answering any questions.
What's your Twitter handle?
SweetStockingsXo. Um, but I'm relatively open with anything that anybody asks me about. My political takes are pretty private, but like, just if you were to look at my Twitter feed, it's not what I'm mostly about. So I'm pretty open if you have like any questions, if you want to talk to me. Granted, I do have like my separate life outside of Twitter, but if and when I see your messages, I will get back to you. I don't like to ignore people.
There you go, gang. SweetStockingXo. Check her out. Thank you for spending the time with us today and helping me co-host. It always makes it easier when I have someone to riff off of and someone else to help hold down the fort. So I appreciate you. Gang, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have a great panel show about money in politics and lobbying. Herbal Remedy, you rated in just in time for us to raid out. So thank you. Welcome, Herbal Remedy S viewers. Gang, give him a follow or her a follow. I'm not actually sure. Yeah, check us out. Who's streaming right now, actually? Oh, Mooncake's streaming. Let's go say hi to Mooncake.
Oh, cool.
Boom, boom, boom. Give me a second. So what's the XO thing, okay? Because Mooncake is also Mooncake XO. So what's the XO thing?
Oh, well, I had no idea. For me,
Is it like a
let's just.
secret handshake amongst
Oh no,
Twitter
like
people? I don't know.
I didn't think about it in that way at all. I know people had like XO at the end of their handles, but mine was just like for like hugs and kisses.
Oh, fair enough.
That's like
Okay.
all it was.
Fair enough.
Like hugs,
Okay, I didn't know if
like
there's
I'm
like
sorry,
a
hug and
secret,
kiss.
like a secret meaning or something because people had it there. I didn't know. But fair enough. XOXO like at the end of a letter. Fair enough. Makes sense.
I think like I had to settle for XO because I couldn't put XOXO. It was either like XOXO or it was like XOXOXOXO. I was like, I'm not
Got you.
gonna be able to do all that.
Got you. Well, wait, bye-bye, gang. Bye-bye. And remember to tell Mooncake that this is a hate raid, okay? We'll see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. Money in politics. Bye.